Yeah, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Future of Jobs webinar series. There are lots of first timers, and that's a great one. Now says it's an exciting feeling. The feeling is electrifying because we have virtually across the world, from the United States, from Kenya, from South Africa, from Nigeria, and it's a good one. And I must say that some of the persons in house today are part of the beneficiaries. A lot of them are beneficiaries of the current collab platform that is currently running. And I'm so happy that we have them come today. Usually for those who are new, if this is your first time, we host the web on a weekly basis. This platform is where we bring resource persons from diverse background, from diverse discipline to come share insights about their wealth of experience and expertise around topical issues around digital transformation, government, and enterprise business and stuff like that. We've had this is like the 11th, or sorry, this is like the 12th session or the 12th series we've had. And but this week we decided, rather than bringing the resource persons to come talk and we do the listening like we usually do, we want to get to hear from the target audience, because this conversation mostly is targeted at the younger generation to help them mitigate this trying time, especially now that COVID-19 has really taken a toll on the world, and there is the new normal now. Generation are one that are major affected because a lot of them were not really working, and right now, how will I say that the whole dynamics have changed. So we try to drive this conversation in order to help them mitigate the challenging times and be able to find direction as the world further moves into the fourth industrial revolution. So, but for today, rather than bring resource person to come speak, we want to hear from you guys. You guys that the program was actually designed for. We want to hear from you. What are your challenges? What are the challenges your peers go through? Whether you're in South Africa, whether you're in Ghana, whether you're in the US or you're in Nigeria, what are the challenges young people are going through? Young people tend to feel that there is a disconnect between their generation and the generation before them. What do you think? How do we bridge this disconnect? They think that the system is actually designed them. The system is designed not to favor young people. It favors more of the older audience or the older citizens or the more matured citizens. Now we want to get to hear from you guys. How can we effect the change? If you were the president, if you're in a leadership position, what would you do differently? It will inform people like us. I hope some of the audience, the people I thought were going to be here, will still join us. People who are also running different youth initiatives, so that we are designing programs for young people. We should be able to factor in some of the things that we hear from you guys today. This is the whole essence of this conversation. We want to be able to ensure that whenever we're designing a youth initiative, a youth program, we should be able to incorporate the kind of things that we get to hear from you. We're not going to just cook up a program and just believe that the solution is going to hear from you guys and see how we can incorporate or infuse the things that we're going to learn from you today. For instance, the future of jobs, probably some of the things that you say today, some of the things that are going to pop up as a result of this conversation, we'll find ways to integrate it into the project. And I'm sure Niles is a co-initiator, and she also has other initiatives as well. And as the conversation goes on, I hope other resource persons and people who are also organizing programs like this will also come share from the wealth of from the information that we're going to get from you guys today. So having said that, it's going to be in form of a session, I mean a panel session. We have our panelist. Niles is going to facilitate. So I'm going to quickly go into the introduction of the panelists. We have Godso Makwana from South Africa. We have Yvonne Nkang from Nigeria. We have Ubong Udoite from Nigeria. We have Grace Munyiri from Kenya. I guess I think that's about Niles. Sorry, did I skip any of our panelists? If I skipped, so please now remaining one. Now,
then we have Maple.
Okay.
Oh, looks like maybe we lost her connection.
Okay.
Maybe she lost. I'm sure she'll come back in.
Okay, fine. Niles is a cybersecurity expert. She's a co-initiator on this project. Um, Niles is a cybersecurity engineer and a cloud manager, and she's currently with Cisco and also run an organization called Cyber Alliance in the USA. She's very vast. She's also a part of Girls. Is it Girls and other youth initiatives. So without wasting more time, because I think we've almost spent about 30 minutes of our time, I'd like to pass the ball to Niles, who's going to do justice to by driving the conversation. I'll be on the listening chair because I'm here to learn today. I don't want to talk much. I want to learn from you guys. So I'll lay back and listen to the conversation while Niles drives the conversation. Niles, I think it's time. I hand the ball over to you now. Mr. Humble is in the house. So Humble, good to have you.
Thank you very much, sir. Good to be here.
Welcome, Mr. Humble. Welcome. You're very welcome here. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Okoro George, for the warm introduction. I really appreciate how you've put that. I just want to reiterate a little bit of what you said. In our culture, it's really easy for us to be like, we're the adults, and because we are the adults, we get to tell you how things should be, and you should just merely obey and basically follow through, right? In this day and age, right, this is the information age. This is the fourth industrial revolution that we're actually going through. And the youth should be leading the way. And so in order for the youth to lead the way, we need to hear from the youth. What's important to you? What's not important to you? What's missing? What's stopping you? How can you be enabled? How can you be supported to first of all, create a legacy, not just for yourself, so that you can become, you can sustain your own family, but maybe you create a legacy so that you can, extend that sustainability to other people, create jobs, social enterprises, and things of that nature. And that just basically means we need to listen to you and hear, what are the challenges, and then we as the adults, perhaps can have input into a lot of challenges that you guys are facing. There's a term that was on the flyer today called the institutional void. Permit me to talk a little bit about that. Institutional voids are things that present itself in a society that basically prohibits a society from achieving certain status in the global markets. If you want to talk about an example, there's one thing that I experienced when I came to Nigeria. And that was around, I think I've shared this with the group before, but I went to a place to get my hair done. And where I went to that place, to that salon to get my hair done, there was no electricity. And so they couldn't wash my hair with warm water. And so someone like me, I don't like cold water on my skin, on my scalp, or anywhere. And so they told me that they didn't have electricity, and obviously they didn't have a generator. And electricity in that particular scenario is basically the absence of electricity are intermediaries that stops a business from being able to run properly. So in the market, in the developing market or emerging market, there are certain challenges that are already in place that stops businesses, that stop the youth, that stops anyone from driving solutions. And so it's really easy for people to say, I'm going to come to Africa to do this. I'm going to go to Indonesia to do this. But I think that right in Africa, we have a lot of opportunities, or we have a lot of problems, which I consider opportunities. And I think if we just look around and listen to you guys, we can turn those opportunities into solutions. And so that's why we're having this discussion. And so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and ask the first question. The first question says this, and if you want to answer, you can just raise your hand across the panelists. You can just either say, I got that one, and then we can proceed. The first question is the questions are kind of arranged in a aspect all the way down to making it personal to where you are. So the first question is kind of a global question, and it says this, what is the biggest problem in the world from your perspective in 2020? I'm going to actually pick on somebody then. Why don't I go ahead and ask Mabel? Are you there? Mabel, can I call you on that
one? Okay.
Yeah, so what do you think, in your perspective, what do you think the biggest problem is today in the world?
Well, biggest problem today, I think, is a human capital and capacity development. Is for me, and as in my own opinion, I think that's the biggest problem today in the world.
Okay, so when you say human capital, can you dig a little bit into that for me? What do you mean by human capital? Oh, I think I mistakenly mute you there. Oh, darn. Okay, so she's having internet problem. I'll pass the question to the next person. Grace, can you share with us what you think the biggest problem in the world is today?
Sorry, I didn't hear you quite clearly. You are kind of breaking a little bit.
Oh, so the problem is my internet. Okay, so the question is this. What is the biggest problem from your perspective in the world today?
In terms of youth unemployment.
What did you say again?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. Oh, okay. Again.
The question is, let me know if you cannot hear me. What is the biggest problem in the world today based on your perspective?
Oh, currently, as we're facing the COVID-19 pandemic, or?
In your opinion, okay, so do you think that the pandemic is the biggest problem in the world today?
At the moment, yes. Or maybe Mabel can try and answer the question as I try to get the grip around it.
Okay. I think
go ahead, Mabel.
Okay. I think the problem in world, or the global problem we are having is one of it is the health and food security. Those are some of the major problems. Those are some of the major problems.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that. All right. Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into that. You mentioned the pandemic. What do you think? We're thinking about the pandemic. What is the pandemic? How has the pandemic affected your society?
Well, it has resulted in economic meltdown. That is inflation. The pandemic has really crippled a lot of business, and a lot of people are out of business, and it has resulted to food insecurity. Basically, some businesses have been shut down. People who had saved their money, like teachers, they no longer have enough money to take care of themselves and families. So basically, the pandemic has resulted in economic meltdown, which has led to inflation.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to go ahead and pivot right there and say, Yvonne. Is Yvonne still on the line? Nope, we lost Yvonne. All right, so she's going to call back in. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and ask the question about the challenges we face. So when you think about a developing country are usually defined as a country that has a lot of poor people, maybe the GDP is a little lower than the global economy. I want to ask the panel, what are some of the challenges that are faced by the least developed nations in the world? Who's the other panelist we have in the room?
Now, this is how I was speaking.
Hello.
Question again.
Yes, the question is this. What are some of the challenges that are faced by the least developed countries in the world? Was that clear?
Okay, if I heard you well, what are some of the challenges that are faced by the least developed nations of the world?
Yes. Thank you for repeating that for me. All right. Who's the other? I think we lost Grace. And we have Yvonne. I've already asked Mabel a question, so I'm going to pick on someone else. Yvonne, are you there? Or Ubang?
Yes, I got the question.
Yvonne, hold on a second. I'm going to ask Ubang this question. Ubang, what are some of the challenges that are faced by the least developed countries?
All right. Some challenges, electricity, unemployment, bad governance, and etc.
Okay, so you mentioned the electricity and what else?
Unemployment.
Unemployment. Okay, unemployment. Electricity and unemployment. Do you think there's a direct effect from? I mean, do you think that electricity has a direct effect on unemployment?
Yeah, man.
In what way?
All right. Taking you to the world of technology today, technology is depending on electricity for a greater and a better production. So now, more people are needed when the production cost is high. So if there is no, if the production estimate is low, you need a less amount of people to work for you to be paid. So the greater the production, the greater the labor. So it affects it in that perspective and way.
That's an excellent idea. That's very, I think that's a very, that's a solid observation. I would agree. Uko, are you there?
Yeah, yeah, I'm here. I'm here.
What are your thoughts around what Ubang just said?
Yeah, well, what definitely spot on. Power is an issue, especially I don't know about Kenya, I don't know about South Africa. I don't know what it is in from where Grace is or where Makwana is. Nigeria is a huge issue, and just like Ubong said, lack of that companies, organizations, small businesses have to generate their own power is extra cost on operation, and that drives the cost of production, drives up the cost of services, and even and then that's why you have countries like China shipping in all sort of, sorry to say, substandard products. And it's because the China products are cheaper because it costs them, I mean, they have steady electricity, they have infrastructure, and it drives down the cost of production. So the producers in Nigeria find it very difficult to compete with products that are coming from China because if you want to produce what is produced in China in Nigeria, it definitely costs you more. And so it's difficult for companies to scale. It's difficult for companies to provide employment because they're struggling to even make profit in the first place. So I quite agree with what Ubonga said. That electricity or power is a very strong issue as far as development is concerned in a third world country like Nigeria.
Thank you so much for that opinion. I really appreciate it. But I want to pivot and kind of reach out to Makwana, because Makwana is coming from South Africa. Makwana, can you share your input with us?
With regards to South Africa, it's actually a very challenging issue because without electricity, recently we've seen a lot of companies closing down. People are getting retrenched, and it's even adding to the number of high employment that has been existing for a couple of years. So I heard from some of the guy who was actually leading ESCOM previously saying that energy is actually the oxygen of our economy. So without having electricity within our economy, we're going to have a lot of issues. And currently, it's important to actually start thinking about different ways of producing energy, because ESCOM alone produces energy using about 60% of coal. So if that coal gets run out, or the mines say they're shutting down because they cannot mine more coal, we're going to have issues. Whereas we see other countries in much more developed countries actually producing electricity in different ways. So I think we as developing nations, we need to start thinking about how are we going to produce energy differently without depending on coal.
That's a really interesting point that you brought up. Yes, in a developing country, electricity is a huge issue, and it affects all kinds of markets. It affects agriculture, it affects technology, it affects employment, healthcare, the financial sector, service providers. So it affects a lot of different institutions, and all of that issues are cascaded all the way down to the mere consumer. Now, I want to go ahead and pivot to Yvonne. Is Yvonne still in the room? No, I lost Yvonne. Okay, but that's okay. When she comes back, we'll ask her. The question I was going to ask is just still on that electricity. What are some things that can be done to bridge that gap? I think, actually, I think I'll ask Makwana first. You talk about alternative solutions. What are some things that can be done to kind of, close that gap of lack of electricity?
I would like to believe that we need to learn as much as we can from developed countries, because there are nations that have actually never really experienced load shedding as much as we are in South Africa. So if we could find ways that would actually help us understand how are they doing, or what are they doing differently from what we're doing, to consistently have energy without any blackouts, I think we could actually go a long way. But also, I do believe that we need to educate ourselves. We need to educate ourselves about the production of energy, and also invest more in research and development. And if we do that, we'll be able to combat all the elements that are surrounding electricity to better ourselves and to better the nations.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Two things that you mentioned was that, hey, listen, it's important to take a look. If you see me looking down, I'm not being rude. I've got a pen. I'm taking some notes so I can continue the conversation.
Okay.
Two things you mentioned was that we need to learn from the developed countries, right? I totally agree with you on that. There are other things that are done in the developing countries that that's working, right? That's why they may be considered the first world, the second world countries, whatever, acronym or whatever word you want to use there. And the second thing is to educate ourselves.
Yeah.
To educate ourselves. Has anyone in the room thought about the idea? Okay, so we know we have a problem being lack of electricity. Has anyone thought about this problem with electricity? Has anyone thought about possible solutions that we can leverage as a continent around lack of electricity that can solve this problem?
I'd like to share something that I've actually discussed with some of my friends that I've been engaging with. So
Okay.
they have been saying that South Africa, I mean, Africa is a place where you definitely going to experience a large part of sunny days. So we could maybe a solar producing a solar energy that is going to be connected to our grids in order for us to get energy as much as we can. I haven't really get into much details regarding that, but that's something that I've heard a lot of people saying it might work. So yeah, that's what I've been getting a lot.
Perfect. Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. Uko, did you have something to say, Mr. Uko?
Yeah, not really. Well, anyway, when it comes to power, there are lots of alternative sources of energy. Um, I think Africa, when it comes to power generation, yes, there are alternative sources of energy, renewable energy. We have that sun, we have the wind, we have in Nigeria, we have lots of gas reserve. We have the oil and gas company. The oil companies are even clearing gas. So there are lots of potentials, but I think the major problem is the lack of the will on the part of the authorities, because just like you said, most of these things are these structures are in place in the first world and second world countries. So it's not science for us to replicate the technology here. But for no just reason, I just don't know why leaders refuse to do what they know should be done. For instance, in the northern part of Nigeria, where we have huge sunlight, it's more like a desert region. Solar panel, solar energy could be a source of energy where it could be generated and connected to the grid. Down here in the south, we have spans of ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, like what China is doing, laying panels over the ocean for solar. We have gas flaring by the oil and gas company. We have gas reserves. So there are lots of alternative way of generating power, but I just don't know why the government is not looking in that direction. They just talk about it, but they're not really putting their words to action. So that aspect I don't know, because I'm not in government and I don't know why. Because I know it's not rocket science. These things can be done.
Just to add to that, well, in simple terms, it's like, to be brutally honest, it's because of corruption. So we should be able to produce leaders who are going to lead us tomorrow, who are going to be honest, who are going to be leading us with integrity, so that the right decisions can be made, and for the people and the communities, not for themselves.
Yeah, I didn't want to go that route because I knew it will make us digress, because I know there's a question that's going to come as that in line with corruption, and so I didn't want to take that route so that we don't digress. So no worry, corruption is definitely
Okay.
Can I come in, please?
yeah. Please
Humble
do.
speaking.
Yeah.
Humble speaking. Am I being heard?
Yes, you are.
Hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Okay. I just want to weigh in a little. Yes, we have power issue, but the power issue is an offshoot of a leadership problem that we are having in part of the institutional void that we're talking about. It's a leadership problem, the lack of will on the part of our leaders. But you see, if this problem must be solved, we need to look at the long and the short-term approach to solving that problem. I like taking ownership. That's how I approach my issues. I recently I've made a decision to get involved in the political system, get involved in politics, because this is where these major decisions are made. And if we, as the youth, keep talking about it, complaining about it, and we are not partaking in the decisions where the decisions are made, how will we become the elders tomorrow who will take the decision? I'm using that word elders because when it comes to Africa, we have old men in the system as leaders. When we have very vibrant 35-year-old, 20 something year old, 40 something year old who can drive this country. As far as the constitution is concerned, in Nigeria specifically, I don't know for other countries, but in Nigeria, a 45, a 35 can run this country as a president. Now, if we look at that and where we are and how we are not participating in politics. We will complain and our children will inherit this complaint. So I will urge us here to begin to think in this direction. If you don't go, if you are not participating, are you supporting passively or actively? We need to get involved because this is the only way we can solve this problem in the long term. Just sitting down, talking about it, complaining about it is not going to solve the issues. So while we are making effort to see how we can manage the situation as it is in our countries, we also need to get involved, encourage someone because it's not everybody that is good in politics. Whatever you're good at, if you're a pastor, talk about it in your church. If you're in business, encourage people to be part of it. Sponsor politicians, people who have interest. There are ways you can be involved in this directly or indirectly, but we just cannot afford to fold our hands anymore and watch these things. Success leave clues. Let's look at how other countries are making it. China is presently trying to recolonize Africa. They have their approach. And when you look at it carefully, if we continue the way we are going, these old men will allow the Asians to recolonize us again. And we will further impoverish our children's children in the new way of recolonization. It's a dangerous thing. A whole lot is going on around the world. And if we are not paying attention to the trend and take personal responsibilities to get involved, we might just get worse. Situation might get worse. I would like to end here for, we have a lot of other people who have things to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that input. I totally agree with what you just said. That yes, we need to be the people that get into politics, and the youth need to, play a part in that. I agree with that. I also think that there's some people that are not going to consider politics because it's just not in their books, or they don't. It's just not a purpose for them to consider to pursue politics, and that's fine too. So we have people as yourself, some youth as yourself that are pursuing politics to go ahead and create those policies and be enforced. We can also have some youth that are creating social enterprises to solve this problem, right? For instance, at the level of just still talking about electricity, Coca-Cola it's everywhere in the world. When they made Coke in America, they realized that Coke in America was not gonna the taste of Coke in America was not gonna be appealing for Africans. And so if you go to the world of Coca-Cola today, the taste of Coke in Africa is different from the taste of Coke in the United States or China or anything like that. And so so they had to listen to the particular area and the taste of the area to deliver Coca-Cola to the environment. That's one thing they did. Number two thing is as a consumer or as people that are youth that are creating social enterprises, what can you do to solve that problem? And what Coca-Cola did, okay, people love to drink cold Coke. Like they want it to be ice cold. When you open it, it cools your throat as it goes into your belly, right? And so in Africa and most places it's very hot. And so Cook thought about, hey, what can I do to go ahead and excuse me, what can I do to make sure that whomever is going to consume my drink, that the drink is cold, right? So you know what Coca-Cola did? In India, they created the cooler system that is solar powered. So whoever is distributing Cokes have the cooler that the drink was sitting in powered by solar energy. So therefore, you can keep the Coca-Cola cooler cold so that consumers can come and buy Coca-Cola and drink at a colder level. So they figured out a way to solve that problem. And I'm not going to say that the government wasn't involved. And so if you have that gift of working in policies and all that, take that initiative and run with it. And if you're also someone that can create a business, look for other ways you can solve that problem. And you can become a partner to someone who's running policies so that these policies can be created from a governmental level and you can enable your business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, you did. You did.
Yeah.
I just wanted to just chip in because Humble brought a very strong perspective to the conversation, and I totally agree with him. And the truth of the matter is that we all have to get involved. Now, involved doesn't mean that we're going to run for political offices. We all have to run for political offices, but we have to get ourselves involved, especially the younger generation, because either by ensuring that you have a voter's card, advocating or campaigning for the right kind of candidates, and educating the public or educating the voters on the right values to look out for, the criteria to look out for the kind of people we should vote into offices. I mean, there are different levels of participation, and we need to find one level. But the thing is that we need to participate. If I do a quick sample of the audience here, you'll be shocked that the number of people who don't even have voters cards, because I can tell you that the youth are not interested. They don't even vote. In Nigeria, a large percentage of the youth don't vote, and we constitute. Yes, I just want to put myself in that category because in politics, in fact, in Nigeria, they consider anybody below, I think, 45, 50 as a young person. That's why we don't even have the opportunity to test power, because they say, oh, you're still young, wait for your time. You only qualify to become a leader in Nigeria when you're in 60s. Anyway, that was just on the lighter note. What I'm trying to say is that the youth constitute about 67 or 68% of the population of Nigeria. That's people within the age bracket of 18 to 35 to 40 at most. They're about 68%. Now, how come with 68%, that's about 70% of the population within this age bracket, voting age, but still we cannot seize power from the older generation? We cannot vote for a younger person who has the integrity, who has the criteria, who has the qualification, who has the qualities. We won't. Rather, we queue behind the old politicians. With our massive numbers, we don't know what to do. With 70% of the voting power in Nigeria, yet the young people cannot take power, something is fundamentally wrong. And that has to do with the value system. So there's a lot of education, a lot of information that we need to pass over to the public. And so if we don't for elective elective office to contest, we should be actively educating the voting public how to choose the right candidate, the implication of selling their vote, the implication of just going out there to take 2,000 naira, which is less than how many dollars, just to vote a candidate simply because they gave you 2,000 naira at the polling unit. Because that's what happens. They give you 2,000, they give you 1,000, you just vote the candidate, or they bring you some sack of rice or beans or whatever, and that's the person you vote for. Now, there's a lot to be done. So, because there's a lot to talk about today, we can continue with this particular topic for the rest of the day. So let me just seize that. So, but everybody needs to get involved. We all need to get involved. I think we should all resolve here that we need to get involved in politics at one level or the other. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that input. All right. I think we can mention a whole lot of, I think we focused a lot on electricity. But we can also talk about water. Every home should have running water in it. These are basic amenities. Every home should have the ability to have internet. Okay. It should be a commodity. Okay. So when you think about, things that are lacking in a home, internet access is a commodity, and so the infrastructure should be in place so that the homes have their internet access. So I want to go ahead and ask another youth a question. The next question is this: what are some other than electricity, what issues are vital to be addressed in the developing countries other than politics? Okay, which issues are vital to be addressed in the developing countries other than politics? I'll go ahead and let me see who I can ask. Yvonne. Yvonne hasn't spoken at all, so I'm going to ask you that question. Yvonne, can you unmute yourself? Yvonne, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you. All right, I'm going to pivot. Grace, I am going to pick on you there. The question is, what are some of the obvious problems? What issues are vital to be addressed in developing countries such as Kenya, other than politics?
Yeah, I've seen that most people have indulged into politics, and actually it's a main issue. But I feel another issue that might be that really affects maybe my country, Kenya, it's infrastructure. Things like roads, because the roads here are kind of terrible, but the government is trying at least to help where they can. But even for, as you earlier asked, if why are these people not getting electricity, it's because even the personnel that is supposed to go and help these people get this electricity, there is no road. You get to a point where some people in Kenya, really, there is not even a bridge people cross to get to the other side of the river. They actually swim. So it's a very tricky situation in terms of the infrastructure. The roads here are not really good. Another thing I feel is the education quality, because initially the kind of education here really is, I may say, I may say it's good, but it's substandard. It's not the epitome that maybe you can compare with other developed countries, because there's, when someone graduates, there's the skill set that someone is supposed to be having. For example, if you're doing medicine, at least you should have the whole entire view of what your profession entails, really. And I feel that the education sector also, these need to be highly revamped, because actually some time back we were talking with other people in my career line, and we were asking ourselves, how better can we help the education sector? So I think, and we were suggesting that these people, or maybe the people even teaching in universities, maybe if they can get, if it's medicine, if they can get actual doctors go and teach, because these lecturers, as one of us said earlier, the leadership is old people, and lecturers are also way, like, things change. Even now there is telemedicine. You cannot tell me a professor who is maybe 80 years old might be very close to telemedicine, something like telemedicine. So I feel even the education sector has really been affected. Also, there is, okay, I don't know how well I can state this, but there is a very wide economic gap between, okay, I don't know how we can address the issue of poverty, really, but you may get that there's someone like, okay, if I may use 100 shillings compared to, maybe I can use the US dollar. It's like $1, and many people, to get that $1 in a day, it's really hard. There's a very big gap, and maybe some of these people are well educated, but as one of us said earlier, the quote unquote the big people in the society, they might get, the lion gets the greater share, and these people, the low income earners, they can't get anything. So So poverty, education, and infrastructure are some of the major things I feel maybe as my country we are facing at the moment. Also, I can mention a little bit on healthcare, which I've just thought about at the moment, because okay, most of our leaders really, even I think it's in the entire Africa, most of our leaders, they go outside the country to get the healthcare services. We have leaders who maybe go to Dubai, India, but look at this person who cannot even get $1 a day. Where will they get that healthcare? So I feel if maybe as youths, we can start maybe our small projects here and there, maybe even with small things like first aid, such that if you're sick and you need medical attention, I can try maybe as in my age I can be able to learn a few things here and there that I can try and equip my skills to kind of fit if I'm in the line of medicine. I mean, this relates to someone if you're in that line. So I think those are the 4 things that I've thought about. Maybe someone else can add on to that. Thank you.
Quickly, I just want to say something because she said something and I laughed that has to do with health. That some of our leaders go for to treat themselves abroad, and I was just thinking in my head, not trying to casualize or trivialize the impact of COVID-19, but I would just say thanks to COVID-19, they can't travel out. So now they're beginning to take the healthcare seriously, very seriously.
Yes.
So that was just on a lighter note then. So please go ahead.
No.
Yeah, true.
You're very, very wicked man for saying that out loud. I was just thinking it. I didn't say anything, but you said it out loud too.
There you go now.
Okay, guys, so awesome. You know, it's really, really crazy. We have, you bring up a great point here. Infrastructure is important. Okay. Do you know that most of our youth may not have an idea that almost every house, are now being built with internet. It's a normal thing now. There's no new house that can be built without internet in America. Not. It cannot
Wow.
happen. Nope, it cannot happen because when a house is built, you don't just build it however you want it. You have to follow some particulars. Okay, when it comes to plumbing inspection has to take place, right? And so that's different levels of jobs. When you think of electricity, the electrician has to come and wire the house. When you think of internet, the cable technician has to come and put the internet in the house. Now, whether you turn it on and off, it's there. It's there so you can enable it. It's a commodity. The roads you brought up, well, if the roads are not built, the big old truck that's carrying all the cable tools to be able to dig the ground, to lay the cable, to cut the cable, and do all of those things cannot be done. So these are issues that come up. I know we have a whole lot to say, and I want people to go ahead and share their input. But I do want to ask you one question before I pivot to other people. You brought up education quality. Okay, education quality. I can say, if you ask me, I think Africans are people that have a lot of numbers or letters in front of their names. Right? They have plethora of degrees. They have a plethora of masters and doctors and all of that. Right? But when we talk about quality, okay, something as basic first aid, basic diabetic treatment, basic high blood pressure treatment, or being able to treat somebody without having to buy a card first. All of these things are basic things that are lacking in the healthcare infrastructure or in education infrastructure. I want to ask you, what do you think about virtual learning?
Actually, virtual learning, I think this pandemic has really widened that gap and has made people to be open-minded about it. To be honest, there is no way you can tell an African parent that, well, mom, I'm taking my degree online. I'll be opening my laptop in the morning. I'll be doing my assignments online. So I feel
my goodness.
I can say about my country. I can also say about my country where I come from. people are yet to actually embrace virtual learning, to be honest. They prefer that old traditional style where the lecturer stands there with a chalk on the board, does the assignments and stuff. So it's yet to be highly embraced. But this COVID period, I have seen that it's been, I can't say on my side, it has been a blessing in disguise, because even our universities, we started this period around March where we had the lockdown and stuff. And most universities to even start the online learning, you can imagine they started in July, because there was a lot, because you know, as I mentioned earlier, even that technology is not available. So, okay, currently in Kenya, maybe I can say about my country, currently in Kenya, primary schools, that maybe I can say, okay, primary schools and secondary, that's high school, they're not doing any virtual learning. They're not. Only the universities. The reason why they're not doing that, maybe I can say that these students, even getting that access to internet, someone doesn't even have a phone maybe you can say not a laptop, a phone, you can be able to use it. They don't have that. As I said earlier, these people are people who live in areas where they have to swim rivers so that they can get to the other side. So you can imagine such a gap. Yes, there are others who can be able to afford it, but what about this other person? For the universities, they're doing that quite well. And you have also mentioned that we have like these labels before our names, the MD, LLD, and stuff. You can, I can cast it on that. All these people, they didn't study in Kenya. They try and have this education outside their continent. What can we do in our country? Why can someone come from the US and study here in Kenya? So we are yet to embrace our education, and I can understand that, because maybe it might be substandard in a way, because the skill set that someone can get maybe from the University of Nairobi is not the same with someone who is maybe in Oxford University. So yes, they have the degrees and all, but they are not from their country, from other countries. So we need to also up our game and also appreciate our education after we have been able to get it to that standard. That's what I meant.
Quickly, let me just chip in something. I want to ask Grace a question. You said that the universities have gone virtual. They're doing virtual learning right now in the universities. These universities you're talking about, are they the private universities or the public universities? Are government universities or private universities?
First, okay, what happened? The statistics I did, because I have some of my friends who are still in the university, and also I have friends who are lecturers. For the private universities, they were the first ones to start, because when you had the lockdown at around in March, some universities, the private universities, they started the virtual learning around May. But these public institutions, they started just recently in July. So you can imagine the kind of, because public universities, definitely they're government sponsored. So it took a lot of time for them to get to that point. So yeah, the private universities started first. Yeah.
Okay, that means you guys are ahead, because I mean, maybe somebody in this audience who is from Nigeria can prove me wrong. That I don't think there is any public university in Nigeria, government university, that is currently running a virtual. Nigeria at the moment are run by. So I don't know. Is there anybody who's a student that were running that the public universities, government universities are running virtual in Nigeria?
Mr.
Please,
Co-Judge.
Nigeria.
Mr. Co-Judge, do you really want to go there?
Yes, we do. We are like everything.
No.
It's
Let
just
me.
sharing so
I
much
wanna,
about Kenya. I want us to go there.
I wanna take out us. I think somebody's talking while I'm talking.
Mr. Manuel, can you let Mr. Manuel speak? I think he's speaking for the first time.
Okay, let me allow him. I will respond after
He's
Mr.
in
Manuel.
the education sector. So
Thank you very much, Mr. George.
yes.
You asked a question, and I like to come in from that perspective. Let it not look as if Nigerians we are missing in action. First of all, currently I am running a program with the National Open University. National Open University of Nigeria.
It's virtual. That has always been virtual.
No, it's not absolutely virtual. We do offline lectures too. We do so many things offline, but you know,
No, Mr. Manuel, don't get me wrong. What I'm trying to say is that National Open University has been running a virtual class before. Then it's not because of COVID-19. They've been running virtually before. They have in-class programs, they have virtual programs. Maybe COVID-19 has only made them to embrace virtual more. But I'm talking about the conventional universities, University of York, University of Nigeria, University of Enugu, University of Ahmedu Bello University. Please tell me one public university that is currently running a virtual program.
Yes, there is a Mountaintop University, the University of. Is it? Yes.
Is it a public university or a private university? Mountaintop. That's a private university.
Yes. Are you talking about public? Are you talking about public?
I'm talking about public. I know the private universities are running virtual, Babcock, Covenant, and the rest of them. But I'm talking about government-owned. She said government university in Kenya started virtual classes in July. I'm saying in Nigeria, no government university has started. But Kenya is even lucky.
Yeah, right.
But you also know that in secondary schools that in Akwa Ibom State, they were doing radio lectures.
Please don't go there. Don't just go there. Please, Ubang, you want to say something? Don't go there, Mr. Emmanuel.
This is why I asked the question. Do we really want to go there?
School on radio? Yeah, who said that?
Please.
Let's 18th century school on radio.
These infrastructures are not in place, or they are unknown to government that it is possible. So for them to want to embrace, and they also have to think about the patrons. So those who will patronize them, what is their own level? How access. They just have to also look at what to do. I think it's also a movement.
Let's stay with what is happening. This idea of looking at what can be done, and we are backward. That's the line here. That's the punchline here. We are backward, and that is what it is. There's no playing around it. There's no trying to butter or sugar it. We are backward, as a matter of fact, and a lot needs to be done. That radio thing and all that was a joke. I listened and I laughed. We need to step up our game. Kenya is ahead. Let's accept it. In Nigeria, I'm not sure. No, don't even go there. Those ones are decades. Those guys are trying. Those guys are really trying. I mean, we can laugh about it because we can laugh about it. It's an issue. It is an issue that is affecting all of us. And it's very embarrassing when you have friends outside this continent and you are discussing these things with them. They'll ask you questions and you begin to stutter. We have issues. We have not even touched security. Nobody has mentioned security yet as an issue. That's another very strong factor in this continent. Security is another issue. So we have mentioned a lot about water. These are basic things of life: water, electricity, road network, quality of education. I mean, how does a society function without these basic things? Now you begin to understand what I.
Now your mic is off. No, now I was trying to say something. I just wanted to point it to.
Oh, I didn't know it was off. I do wanna hear. One of the questions we were talking about is the youth, right? This is us hearing them, right? One question I want to ask. There's a youth here from South Africa. We've heard from a youth in Kenya. I want to hear about the universities in Nigeria as well. What is your experience around virtual learning since the pandemic started? Why don't I go ahead and ask Mabel first? Tell us first what university you attend. Has there been provisional learning via online learning from the university itself to you? Mabel, you can go ahead and share.
Yeah, I attended the University of Calabar, I think we never engaged in any virtual learning. There was nothing of such. I don't see that coming because some of those lecturers honestly are not even able to create computer system. So that's not possible, virtual learning. And same in you, I think everything was, there was nothing online. We didn't do anything online. There's no virtual learning.
What about you, Ubong? Can you tell us
All
about your
right.
experience? What university you attend, and were there virtual learning provision put in place for the university?
All right. I'm ending university for you. As I'm talking to you now, not in my first semester examination. Yeah, there's nothing in university. Everything is just nothing goes. So you get home and enjoy yourself.
You just stay home and enjoy yourself? Oh my goodness! Okay, good. I'm glad.
It just got the bomb there. But let me further add something. Let me ask the youth in the house. Do you even exchange emails with your lecturers? Simple as emails. Do you exchange emails? We are talking about video and all. What about do you even exchange emails with your lecturers?
Ubong, do you?
Nothing.
Well, I did not, but I see no reason to do so. Is there anything, or is there any reason for doing so? Because of, well, as a fresher in school, I'm not that close to lecturers. I'm kind of on my own, so I didn't see any need doing so. But is there any need?
Education quality. Education quality. You don't have a relationship with your professor. You don't see the need. What about you, Mabel? Did you?
No, I never exchanged any email with any lecturer till I graduated. It was not of such.
And please, there are other students in the ID. You're a student. Yvonne is out of school, but ID,
Okay,
same question is being put to you.
Go ahead.
ID.
Oh, I think that was Yvonne. Yvonne, was that you?
Okay, Yvonne.
yeah, that was me. Yeah, I was
Go
going to say something about the whole email. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, about the email, I think I had a lecturer who intended to get every student emails and send us lecture notes through that avenue. But the problem might also come from the students because most of them didn't want that. They just wanted to come to class, read them notes and things like that and stuff.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Hello.
All right.
Now let me drop another one.
Okay, go ahead.
Was it I can't remember if it's last year or thereabout. A lecturer
Can you
in
hear
the
me?
university. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Humble.
Okay, fine. So a lecturer, was it last year or thereabout, a few years back, a
Yeah.
lecturer whom the university sent abroad to study, came back to school to resume lectures and attempted to lecture with PowerPoint in class. Do you know that he almost got himself sacked?
Are you serious?
We have, I mean, how do you even presentation with PowerPoint and talking about a year or two back? This is 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in trouble.
Yep.
I mean, there's so much I can bring here because I am in the personal development sector, and I see people graduate from school who call themselves lawyers, who call themselves professionals, and you sit down with them one-on-one across the table and you ask yourself, did this guy or girl ever go to school?
Yep.
They can't handle punctuations. They don't understand what is presentation. They cannot. Oh God, I don't. Please.
So I
Let me
hear
not piss
what
us
you're
off.
saying. I hear what
Let,
you're saying.
I want let our youth look at these things. If I'm wrong, please correct me. I stand corrected. But let's look at these things objectively. We are talking about visual learning here, and we want adults are struggling with it. How about those, the young ones? I know the young ones are because, like my daughter, she can do marvelous things with my phone. You know, she plays with the tablet and do a lot of wonderful things. But beyond that, into our secondary schools, those guys are lost. Those in the secondary school, I don't know what they call it in Kenya, Gambia, or South Africa,
Just a
but
second.
in Nigeria, okay, fine. So
Secondary
we
school.
this is another issue in our continent that we need to look at seriously. Every one of us in this room listening right now, we have a responsibility. We have a responsibility. Whether you are managing a WhatsApp group, whatever group you're belonging, you need to begin to bring these things up. People need to become aware of these things because it's through awareness people begin to give thoughts. And when those thoughts take seed, people begin to grow to become better in these areas. Individually, we need to become strong in these sectors and use these mediums to also communicate downward or upward because it is an issue. The governor of my state, let me just end with this one. The governor of my state, when he came to power, tried to force the people in government, commissioners and the rest of them, to do presentations in PowerPoint. You don't want to hear what happened there, the kind of drama that happened there. People call him names and all sort of things.
Because
So
they're
he's trying to bring in, he's trying to introduce something. You know, these are the kind of leaders we need, people who are futuristic in their thinking and begin to engage people in the present so that they can lead them into where they are going. After that seminar with them, he handed them over this book, Third World, what's the man's name again? Third World to First World. What's this man's name? Skipped me right now. So he handed all of them that book. And I listened to one of them, look, I was making ridiculous comments, you know, about that gift and all of that. So we have issues. We have issues. And I want us to look at it objectively beyond just education is very fundamental to what we are talking about here. The leadership quality, the water issue, and all of that. Education is very fundamental to it. So I would like to end there.
It really is. Thank you so much for that input. I do want to. I do want us to move forward because I think it's time for us to, almost wrap it up here. But one thing I do want to say is, a couple of weeks back we had a presentation. I forgot the young lady's name, but she talked about how companies in Africa are saying, hey, if I were to hire someone that's a graduate, that has a degree, whether it's doctorate or master's or bachelor's, in Africa and employ them, they were lacking soft skills. And so the gaps and challenges to bring them on board, would just cost them way too much for the business. So they don't hire those people. You understand what I'm saying? So when we talk about soft skills, being able to present an idea is a soft skill that's required by companies today. Being able to project manage, I don't care whether you're a project manager or not, these are soft skills that you need. Being able to handle customer service, all of these things, and I personally believe in them. My kids, I have children. If they want to buy anything, if they have an idea, if they want to change who does chores in the house, they have to put in a PowerPoint and we have a presentation. And they present it and I record it. You know what I mean? The reason I have that, I know about that is because I've been here and I've been exposed to that. All right. So quite all right, I've been exposed to that. And my goal as a Nigerian American is to bring that to Nigeria. Okay. Now I want to pivot that to you guys that are there in Nigeria, the youth that are filled up in this room. My question is this: virtual learning has been enabled, and the pandemic has created so many free virtual learning. Ms. Tuko has a plethora of them with Eureka Labs. I am hosting some of them. But the question is, why don't the youth consume them? I want to know from you guys, Why don't the youth consume them and actually use those things that they're learning on a broad, company to pivot and solve a problem in the area? I want to hear from you guys. I'm going to ask Makwana first because I think you haven't spoken in a while. So in my country, I can tell you I know a lot of youth, and I've made available several things to enable them. Mr. George has done it. I've seen it, but they refuse to get online and watch these videos. And then when they watch these videos and learn, you can turn around and solve a problem in your area, in whatever you can, find a solution to solve a problem. But the issue is, if you're wasting all your money on social media or Big Brother Niger, then you can't spend that naira on learning for your own self. Why? I want to ask my youth. Help me understand, why is it like that? Mr. Makwana, what is your take on this?
So in South Africa, there's a lot of universities that are actually trying to implement virtual learning. And as much as there's a diversity within the institutions of students, there are some who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. So they would say there are issues with connectivity. And there has been ways of raising that to the government and to the business, that they should assist in ensuring that connectivity becomes more cheaper. But then even more so, when students are being provided with that, they don't really use it for the right stuff. So it becomes an issue when someone is being provided with, let's say, for instance, they give somebody data and a free laptop, but when they have an opportunity to learn online, they'd rather go to YouTube and do whatever that they want to do, which is not related to education. So for me, I would say there's youth that is actually interested in learning virtually, and they would like to learn a lot of skills virtually, which are available right now. But we need to start talking about how to make connectivity much cheaper for those who are actually interested in learning something on a daily basis. So yeah, I think that's my take on that.
Thank you.
Hello? Hello?
Okay. So I guess so there was a couple of persons have not spoken. Israel, ID, Gachamo, and I think you guys should also make contributions.
Hello.
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I have been
Good
following up with the conversation, just that I was at the salon, so I just had to keep mute and listen. Okay. Concerning the question that has been raised, I am a Nigerian and I'm in the University of Uyo, so I'm still a student. And I heard someone talk about some students won't embrace virtual learning. Okay. Me for one, I would love it. Like, it would be like this dream goal for me. But our lecturers, they don't even have an idea what virtual learning means. Some of them don't have a smartphone, so that's a very big problem. And to answer the question, I'll go with what Mr. Humble said: awareness. Because, okay, now someone raised the point that when we youths are being provided with internet facility and all that, we go to for other stuff that are not is being shown us. Where we go, those are the contents we come across with. So I believe we as forerunners that know the benefits and what this will do for us and the economy, we should always look for ways to put out this good stuff. If you have an opportunity to educate people on online learning, free courses here and there, just put it out. Yes, they might not be response. When the internet came about, YouTube in particular, most youth still didn't find it interesting. They were like, it's boring. But over the time, they keep adapting to it. They see it everywhere. So they're like, let me just try this. And they find it interesting. So I believe if this content, if this good news is being preached on a regular basis, people will get to have more interest in this, and it really help us scale. Yeah, thank you.
Hello?
Yes, Ubang, go ahead.
Please, could you ask the question again? I lost connection.
Yeah, the question was about virtual learning. We have so many virtual learning opportunities available to us. Well, first of all, Mary mentioned that the quality of education is quite poor in the developing countries, like Nigeria or Kenya and things of that nature. Um, the question was, we have America or the UK or Europe, all these different countries have created virtual content, and it's made available by various platforms. But then our youth are still not consuming them. And even if they consume them, they're not using it to solve problems, and they're complaining about A and B or C. Why do you think that's going on? When we know that they have access to data, they are browsing the internet every single day. They are making votes on Big Brother Nigeria every single day, but they don't consume, because if you were to consume it, we would see a difference. So what is your thought on that?
I'm very sorry. It's cracking.
Yeah.
Didn't get you fine.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead, Uko.
Okay, can
I want to say maybe Yvonne, please have something to
yeah,
say in this. Yvonne, you speaking?
okay, yes, I was.
Okay, go.
I think there's also a problem with orientation. I think that happens right from childhood. Everybody gets to believe these professional courses. You have to be a lawyer, you have to be a doctor, engineer, something of that nature. So most of the time, sometimes when these people grow up, they believe these soft skills are not necessary for their profession. Like I've encountered some people who actually think, what do you want to do with your life? You're learning this, you're into that. They just feel, okay, I'm a lawyer. All I need to do is know law and nothing else. I'm a doctor. What do I need soft skills for? So I think that's also a major problem.
Okay, I think I like that idea. Mr. Ko, what was your? I think we gotta start wrapping up.
I wanted to, welcome Mr. Victor. Victor, good evening. I just wanted to say that as regard youth, young people having access to data, having access to the internet and not really using it rightly, I think it has to do with value system. Basically, it has to do with the value system. You call it awareness, you call it orientation. It has to do with the value system. And the value system is the celebrates. Our society, young people learn by modeling. Our society model people with the wrong kind of value. For instance, now our society models people who are wealthy, who have material substance, irrespective of how they became wealthy. Those are what the people, the society celebrate. And these people are not the right models. They don't have the right values. Let me put it that way. They acquire their wealth, whether crook or means, they don't bloody care. But the society celebrates them. And when you celebrate people like that, you're indirect this person if you want to become somebody in this country. Now, you go to a function, you find out that the people that will sit on the high tables are the wealthy persons or the politicians, especially in the clans where I belong, in Akwa Ibom State or in New York. And you look at the companies, what do they model? What do they celebrate? They spend more money on programs like Big Brother Nigeria or Big Brother, whatever you call it. They spend more money on reality shows that are not really driving the right kind of values. And then when it comes to hackathons, when it comes to programs or initiative that has to do with the right kind of value, they don't throw money to such things. A student, the best students in some university in Nigeria will go home with maybe 100,000 naira or 50,000 naira, the best graduating student. But Big Brother Nigeria is giving out 35.35 million, 550 million naira. I don't even know what it is. Now, what are you telling the public? What are you telling the young people? That if you want to be celebrated in this society, you have to go. So we're not setting the right example. We're modeling we've gotten our value system wrong. When we keep celebrating people with not the kind of value that could actually make impact in changing the system, what we're invariably telling the younger generation is that you need to be like this guy. You need to be like this guy. You need to be like this. If you're not a politician, you're not going to be noted in where I come from. Nobody gives, I don't want to use the F word about you because everybody celebrates the politician. Okay, he's a politician. They don't even care how the politician made his money, how they make their money. So when you celebrate politician, you're now telling the young person that you need to be a politician or you should be like the politician. Now the politician is not living the kind of example. They're not how. In fact, I've run out of words. I think Mr. Humble will even make better justice because this is his life.
Let me just say something because we're almost out of time.
Yes, go ahead. And before Mr.
Um,
Humble, before you speak,
okay.
I want to tell every single youth in here. Before I close this conversation, I want one last words for you from you. Okay, I want to hear one thing you would want us, the adults, to hear from you before we close the conversation. We're not going to address it, but I just want to hear from you. Okay, so Mr. Humble, you can go ahead.
Okay. I what I have to say is in line with what Mr. Coach just said, and of course what Niles earlier mentioned. You know, we have there are different angles to this same thing. We can look at it as an individual, where an individual has a porous or vague kind of value system. Value system here is simply put, what is important to you as an individual. That value system. Now, when you're looking at a value system, you can break that value system into levels. Now, the first level will be what is the most important thing to you? What is the second most important thing to you? What is the third most important thing to you? Now, that you will do this after listing all the important things to you, pour them out all out on paper, and then pick out, excuse me, pick out your best three in order of their priorities. Now, if you approach it this way, and please be sincere when you're doing this, when you're carrying out that. Be very sincere to yourself. First of all, let me say again, write out everything that is important to you without thinking over your head. Just dump them on paper. There could be 50, there could be 100 of them. When you're done, pick your best three. After picking out your best three, step three will be that you pick out the most important, second most important, and third most important. 3 steps to it. Now, when you finish that as an individual, we come to an institution. Now, let's put our focus into the educational system. As an institution, let's look at it together. What is the most important thing for our institutions as a university? I don't want to go too far because we are almost running out of time. But let me mention something that is very important when we are looking at that factor. The criteria for having admissions into the university. I have friends, cousins who attend universities who are, I don't want to mention names because I don't want to, make people feel somehow about university. I don't know where you're from. I don't want you to look at me as somebody who is attacking the university in your area. But there are universities who are technology universities, technology driven. Now, these universities make sure that even when you have an F in English, you're admitted. Are you listening? You have an F in English, you're admitted. They look that criteria alone shows that they are playing down on the kind of things we are talking about. So you see somebody graduate as an engineer and cannot communicate ideas, cannot do and make presentations. You see, engineers. So when these kind of things happen in a society, what are they telling the young ones who are coming, into the university? Already they have set a standard subconsciously for these younger ones. So these younger ones come in playing down on English language. They don't even think it's important until they get out of school and they cannot communicate. They cannot work in a team. They cannot they cannot even understand cultures. I work in an oil company, ExxonMobil. And how do you work with Chinese, the Asians? How do you work with Australians? How do you work with people in America? You need to understand cultures. These are things that are very vital, very vital. So you see people, other people from Asia are trying to speak English, and you make mockery at them and get yourself sacked. When you cannot even speak the English yourself, you're struggling with it. Now, I mean, we're running out of time, so I'm trying to be very quick on this. We have finished with the individual. We have come to the institutional. Let's now move to the government sector, the public sector. That's another sector entirely. Mr. Coach just made a very vital point when he talked about modeling. Is very important. I have spoken to secondary schools kids, and I asked them, who do you want to be like when you grow up? They tell you a lot of ridiculous things. You go further to ask why. By the time you ask why up to 5 times, you find out that what the kids are looking at, what they want to model themselves after, is the flashy cars, the money, the throwing of money in public places, and this kind of ridiculous behaviors. Where are we going with this? So about value system and we are looking at it in this categories, we begin to understand the issue, the gravity of the issues here that we are talking about. So I mean, let me end it here. Let me just drop it there. So Nats can take the final word from the students.
Thank you
Thank you
so
very much.
much. Thank you so much, Mr. Humble. We really appreciate that. I hope you guys were taking notes because there's something that is directly relating to you that you can walk away doing from this conversation today. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and go around. I'm going to go around the room. Well, before I do that, I want to let you know that myself, um, uh, no, I'm going to hold back. Now I'm going to go around the room. I want all the young people to go ahead and give us their last words. And I'm going to
not a
start
young
with
person.
who is speaking right now? Oh, Miss Dr. Gachimo, go ahead. Can you please share your input?
Okay, I said I feel like I'm not a young person, and I was called out for not speaking the whole time because I really didn't feel like it's a forum for me to speak. It's a forum for me to listen and learn. So I'm really just listening, but it's been very informative, and I enjoyed being here. Thanks for all that contributed. But just my own take or my own word, final word, as far as what I've gained from all this conversation. Um, Very importantly, I think that we need to learn personal and self responsibility. I think that as youths and as Nigerians, as Africans, our parents have failed us. I'm sorry. Parents have failed you. The generations before you have failed you. And while we can easily sit here and just keep saying Nigeria is a problem, Africa is a problem, things are not working, that's definitely true to a large extent. But Niles asked a very important question. In this day of pandemic, we have so much access to learning. We live in a very global society today. You can learn just about anything. You can develop just about anything. You can build yourself in just about anything. But I think we have to learn to take responsibility. Because in truth, a lot of us are very quick to say, well, my dad didn't do it, the governor didn't do it, the president didn't do it, but no one is going to do it. They're not going to do it. If you want a better life for your children, when you grow to be those leaders, you have to change your value system. We have been raised with a horrible value system where we think of just money. We don't value uh, service. We don't value giving back. We don't value developing ourselves. We don't take pride in I'm a cleaner, I'm a janitor, I grow tomatoes. Like we need to value those positions, those jobs, and we need to care about them, take them really personally. And yes, we didn't teach ethics. We're not raised, even though we're all very super religious. We can quote the Bible and the Quran, but we're not very religious in terms of how we think of um, just your own self. What do I feel at the end of the day? What is God, my own God, going to think of what I'm doing at the end of the day? So those are the kind of things that we need to take personally. It doesn't matter what other people think, but you have to give and do for the greater good. And so, yes, joining politics might be great, but joining politics might not be the solution, because guess what? A lot of people get into politics and do the same thing their dads did and their grandfathers did, because again, the value system is wrong. So it's not the solution. The solution is changing. That small 5-year-old, 10-year-old, 20-year-old will cheat you, will lie to you, will do all these things that are wrong. And that's because he's already raised with the wrong values. So that's where I think we need to start. We need to change our values. We need to care about a culture of learning. We need to make the effort to learn. We spend 20 hours out of 24 on the internet. Instead of being on Facebook or Twitter, we can actually use that time to learn, but we don't have a culture of wanting to learn. So, those are some of the things that I got as a takeaway from everything today. And I'm optimistic that our future would be better than our past, for sure.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much for your input. We really appreciate it. Now I'm going to go ahead and pivot to the next person, Chigozi. Chigozi Israel. So Chigozi or Chika? I'm so sorry. Please tell me how to say your name. Chigozi?
All right. Good evening, everybody.
Good
Can
evening.
you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Um, I've just been listening all the while to all the different points and discussion that have been pointed out.
So why don't you let us see that video?
Sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So I learned a lot. The discussion was quite informative and educative anyway. But for me, I've actually understood the takeout from today's webinar has just been on the point basis of our problems faced by underdeveloped countries. I'm from Nigeria, and virtually all that was pointed out, we are all true, and it was okay. But point continuously taking the path of problems, and without making a way for solutions might not be the situation, might not be the way out. So for me, with all the problems listed, I just think that solution should be our way out. Government should be involved. The leaders need to be involved. Education, parents should be involved. These are criteria that should be met. Individuals as well. Our mindset, individuals' mind, citizens' mindsets are all too poor, because a situation where everyone, like for instance, in my country, most of the young people, everyone is like, let's follow the elders, what they are doing. This one did this, this one did that. No one wants to develop his or her own formula or a pattern to follow. They are just going about that, and that's just it. The education is bad. Nobody wants to take seriously everything. Virtual learning on the poor side. I mean, my school, River State University, they raised up the issue of virtual learning, and everyone was like, are you serious? No data, no internet, can this, no that. But the same people will get to vote. BB Nigeria, Facebook, and yet they can't do virtual learning, meaning that there's a problem somewhere. So the there just really needs to be a change, and awareness creation is just the basic thing. Parents should be involved in this. This new generation now should be activities at an early age. At least, let's kick off from the start. Every other thing, let's hope that our present youth now, maybe we might find a way to get around some certain things and at least make up. Like I, for one, now, I personally determined to live my own life, take the path of a good citizen. I learn, I've used all resources I have. Virtual learning is my thing. For the past 6 months now, I've been working on virtual, I've been working on online courses on different platforms. So I'm used to it. But many people out there don't think that that's the right path. So this awareness creation should be part of it. So solution should be our main focus, not mainly problems, because problems can be too exhaustive. There are lots and lots, especially this part of the country or part of the world. That's it from me. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm going to go ahead and pivot to Grace Manieri. Can you please give us your last words?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a really insightful conversation for me. I have learned a lot. It has been mentioned that maybe you have said that most of the youth are watching Big Brother Niger instead of studying. Okay. Partly I'm kind of one of those, but thank you. It's been really a very insightful conversation and I've learned a lot. I think as youth, it has made me think outside the box, but I need to have an initiative whereby instead of sitting back and just thinking about the problems I'm facing in the society, what can I do? That's the greatest take home that I've taken this today. Because I think because I think it's said that be the change that you want to see. I've just realized today that instead of me thinking of the challenges I'm facing in my society, in my country, in my community, what can I do to change? Thank you so much. I have learned a lot, and yes, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that input. We really appreciate having you. Thank you for being a part of the panel. Definitely enjoyed talking to you, and I hope to see more of you also. And now, thank you. I'm going to pass the ball over to Mr. Makwana. What are your final words for us?
Thank you so much, Niles, and thank you, everybody. I've also learned quite a lot. When actually Yuko, when he sent me a message saying that he'd like me to be part of the panel, I was so nervous. I've never been part of a panel before. So I just had no idea what I was gonna say, but it's really been informative, and I'm looking forward to being part of this more often. What I would like to do is, well, I'm stubbornly obsessed about leadership, so it's going to be important for every country to have leaders who are actually supportive of computers and tech companies, and also to have the government that can actually create an environment in which IT could function with the lowest or the cheapest kind of connectivity so that everybody can be included. So we need to create a more inclusive space for everybody to participate. So we shouldn't look at technology as something that is going to eliminate the existence of human beings. We should rather look forward to creating a space where technology or machines and human beings are going to coexist. You've mentioned something about soft skills. So machines wouldn't really have those emotional, the same way that you human beings have. So yeah, that would be something that I would really push for and hope that we could achieve.
I mean, you guys are making all great points, here. I'm going to go ahead. Thank you so much, Mr. Makwana, for sharing your input there. I'm going to pass the ball now to Miss Mabel Johnson. What is your final words, my dear?
Oh, thank you very much. Like Akona had said he was nervous. I was equally nervous too, and honestly, right now I'm still nervous. Sorry about that. Okay, my last word is I really appreciate what Edureka is doing by sharing knowledge, helping us to acquire knowledge to empower us to be able to do a lot of things in society now. Like what have just been said, I really learned a lot from what has been going on. Like the previous meetings, I like the joining the meeting each time it comes up. I normally don't miss any meeting. Even when at times I'm not on time, but at least I must be part of the meeting, probably towards the end of it. And that has really helped me and that's changed my life course, I would say. Because what I learned in school has not in any way helped me. It's what I've been able to learn or the knowledge I've been able to acquire online is what has really helped me to progress or to achieve a lot of things. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your input, Ms. Mabel. We appreciate that. Thank you. We love seeing you. We know that you are advocate for the youth. I know that you actually perform some training right there, Leo. So kudos to you for stepping up. Even though you're being nervous, that's fine. I've always, whenever I'm on at a conference, I'm presenting, I feel butterflies because I'm about to do something great. So you should feel like that as well. I'm gonna go ahead and pass the ball to Pleasure. Pleasure, what do you have to say to us as your last words?
Well, thanks very much. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You muted yourself. Yes, you are. I can hear you. Carry on.
In Africa, of young youth and old youth. So I mean to say the youth they're regarded as young people and the old people they're regarded as old youth, which are charged with leadership and governance. They don't want to accept that now they are old. You can check in Africa generally. Most of the people in every parliament, they are above the age of 55 years of age. Imagine someone above 55 years planning the future of someone who is merely 5 years old. So therefore, in this discussion of today, I've learned that as youth, we must stand up and we are the people who are relevant and right to take Africa forward and to unite Africa. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much for your input there. Thank you so much. We appreciate you for coming. All right, we're going to go ahead and pass the ball to Mr. Emmanuel. What's the last word you have for us?
Hello?
Mr. Emmanuel, yes, you can go ahead. Give us your last words.
Okay, well, thank you everybody who has spoken. You have all spoken well. Right from the beginning, when we are asked what was the biggest problem in the world, I hear some people making mention of electricity and so many things, but I think what is our greatest problem is ourselves. Just like later we began to speak, you see somebody sees himself as the best and others as nothing. If you don't find yourself within a person's circle, you are good for nothing. He sees you as a potential enemy, as a threat. We cannot survive or succeed as individuals. We must work together. It is in what you are given that you get your honor from. But especially like in Nigeria, we just want to create ourselves into a group and we want that group to be in control. And then if we see any light coming from the other group, we want to suppress it because we see it as a threat to our position. Our leader, we have leaders. These leaders travel all over the world. They see everything. And yet, when they come into this place, they don't want those things to happen in this place. Now, like somebody pointed out, ordinary headache can make a leader to travel outside the country to go and treat headache because he doesn't believe that the doctors that we have here can take care of him. But have you seen how God just turned the whole thing around? And now, because of this pandemic, they have seen that even those people that they are running to their own country, that they are also imperfect in themselves. They are not, they don't know everything. So the first thing is for us to, good neighborliness. Let us incorporate, even if somebody is nonsense, remove the non, there is a sense. Somebody can say nonsense, but when you listen, that nonsense can prop up an idea into a relevant positions. So I think when we begin to incorporate each other and stop playing the politics of exclusion, trying to bring people close, having the right type of values, I think we'll be able to go far, we'll be able to do well, we'll be able to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. M. I really appreciate that. Now I'm going to pass the ball over to Mr. Udoy. Mr. Udoy Teubong, you have about a minute to go ahead and share with us your last words.
All right, thank you very much, Miss Niles. All right, now that was it's all about finding solutions to these problems. There are a lot of problems facing the world today, my country in particular. And we have been talking about them. Now let's talk about the solutions. Think about the solutions. How do we move? What's the next step to take in life? Well, I'm boiling everything to the government, but I'm seeing the government have failed us. We, the individual, have, to stand up and do something. You don't have to look at the government anymore. Let's work out on our own and see what we can do. Now, everything boils down to, I boil everything down to, education, the problem, the mindset of the people. Renewing their mind is a very great option. People have been schooling, right from centuries, say, go to school, go to school, go to school. I don't really believe in school. I believe in myself, what I can get, my potential, where can I learn with those stuff really developed in me. All right. So I think adding a curriculum to our educational system. What are these people really learning? I used to say the country or the system in government, the system in Nigeria, the government system, right? It's like a programmable machine. Do you think those people in power do not know what to do? I want to believe they are good people, they know what is good for them. But why do you think they are not doing the right thing? So this is a thing we need to consider. I think of what is really happening in the power. Let's teach our children the truth. It may bring war, but let's face the fact. Let's open everything. Let's not hide anything anymore. It brings death. You die. And then we grow because of the past heroes. They lost their life for us to survive today. Go to the high school. Let's know what they are being taught. Let's know what those children are being taught day by day. If to introduce a new curriculum, we introduced to tell people about what the government is really doing. So I think with this viewpoint and what I have to say about boiling everything down to the next generation, renewing their mind, because of even the scripture says, train up a child in a way it should go. When he or she is old, he or she will not depart from it. It has to start from a tender stage, a youth growing with this mindset and having the.
Oh no, you broke out. Oh no, we lost your audio there, Ubong. Welcome. All right, Ubong, we'll come back to you. I think we have a couple more people here. Yvonne, you haven't spoken. Ubong, we'll just come back to you to wrap up your point because you're breaking up on your data connection there. Yvonne, can you give us your last words?
Okay, from everything here, I know we are very intelligent, we are creative, and we have the right energy. But if only we would channel it in the right direction, then there's a lot we can do. Perhaps we should just improve on ourselves, put in a lot of dedication to whatever we do, and that's when things will just move better. And also, there are ways we can improve our education system. That should help a lot. Maybe from a young age, instill the right values in the children. That way, they will know what to place value on when they grow. And then for the education system, I heard somebody say school was not okay, but I think different. Maybe we can infuse, we can find a way to merge these technological skills into education systems. That should make it look a lot better.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your input there. We really appreciate it. Mr. Ananaba, can you please share your last word with us? I know you probably missed the beginning part, but I'm sure you got the gist of the discussion. Can you share your last word with us?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, beautiful. Thanks for the time. I'm sorry for coming late to the class this evening. I think my words are very few. In 2010 precisely, when I was doing my master's degree, I was privileged to wrote a book. I wrote a book which affects the title of the book was Life After NYSC: Capacity Building for Future Relevance and future socioeconomic development. So in that book, the chapter 2 of that book, which had to do with character development for future leadership, I emphasized a particular point which has to do with issue of role modeling. Role modeling is a critical issue that is missing in our nation. In building any nation, there must be a place of role modeling. If we despise it, we cannot build leaders that will take over this nation, who will take this nation to the next level. Role modeling, where does it start from? That's the question we should ask. It starts from the home front. Every country, every nation is an aggregate of families. If a father or a mother does not it's not a role model to his kids, how can you claim that you want to be a leader? Even these days, we have church leaders. Some of them in their, if you go to their families, they cannot manage their home front, but they are claiming they are their leaders. We are deceiving ourselves. We must go back to the home front and take care of it. Charity begins at home. If we don't deal at their home front, we must show role model to our kids. That's where we start from. You cannot be, my privilege to have written a book is a function of the kind of father I had who influenced me positively, who always emphasized, if you don't read, you cannot be a leader if you are not a reader. That is my dad's slogan. So we must go back to the home front and treat our home front and forget about the nation. The nation will take care of itself if we can go to the family and take care of ourselves and show role modeling to our children how we should live to become responsible citizens to the society. That's my own take on it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
That was solid.
Yes, that was awesome. Thank you. Now I am going to say my own piece and I'm going to let Mr. wrap us up. Guys, you have shared a lot with us. We really appreciate you coming and just being vocal about the things that you experience, the challenges and the gaps. And I had several questions I wanted to ask, and it's kind of stiff in the beginning. And so I'm just kind of glad that we, follow the conversation because our goal was to hear you guys. And one of the things, if I may leave with you, Mr. Humble left a series of things that you should consider doing. That is writing down things about yourself. Could be 50, could be 100. He mentioned. Write it down. I want to go ahead and echo what he's saying. Pick the top three things and name them your 3 priorities, and then decide what can you do to enable you drive those priorities. So I just want to echo what he said because those are like nuggets. Mr. Ananaba talk about here that that mentoring starts at home, role modeling starts at home. Well, if you don't have that, you cannot go and grow it in the market or in the farm. You can't grow it. But we have forums like this where we come and we share this knowledge with you guys. So you know what I want to say? We're sharing this words of wisdom with you. Take it, hold on to it, actually execute, and not just keep it to yourself, You have a friend, you have friends, you have groups that you are in. Share this knowledge with them. Don't keep it, don't just keep it to yourself. There's no need to be selfish about it. So that's one thing, parting words. The second parting words for me is about being a problem solver. Several people in the room have mentioned a variety of problems that we see in the developing country, whether it's South Africa, whether it is in Kenya and in Nigeria. We've talked about all of those. Okay, those things are not just problems, they are opportunities for every single one of us here. So let's begin to shift our mindsets from saying, oh, this is a problem, it is your fault, this is a problem, it's your fault. Those things are there, acknowledge them, but let's think of it as, okay, there's an opportunity here. How do I create a solution out of this? And who can benefit from the solution I can create out of this? So as you are learning, as you are consuming the knowledge, the virtual online learning that we have talked about, always think about what problems can be solved from things that has been made available to you. And then number two, who else can you share that information with? All right. And how can you drive solution? How can you create a business? How can you, just think of ideas? So with that said, thank you so much for you guys' time. I'm going to go ahead and pass the ball to Mr. Uko George. He is our favorite character in the room. He's the lead of your collabs, and he has been fundamental in starting the future of jobs. This will not be possible if Mr. Uko did not work with his team and say, okay, we need to expose these things to our youth. Okay, so Mr. Uko George, thank you so much for your endeavor. We know that you have a big heart and we appreciate it. And I want you to give us your last words before we walk away here.
Okay, I got booted away in the course of everyone trying to give their last words. So I don't know if, because I can see him, I don't know, did Mora say something?
No, he didn't. Go ahead and hand it to you.
Okay, Mr. Mora, do you like to say your parting shot? I know you came in late, but you're a regular, and I'm sure you have one or two things to say, considering all those, the subject of discuss. Mora?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm okay. I just enjoyed the conversation. It's enlightening for me. It's also a lot of lessons for me because I have kids that are growing up. So hearing from this generation of persons that we have in this session talk and express themselves with respect to the topic, I learned a lot myself, which I have to put in practice too. So thank you very much for this session. It's a wonderful one. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mora. And maybe before just want to know a little bit more about peace. I came back Pleasure, while he was speaking. Pleasure, you're from what part of Africa are you from? A Pleasure, can you hear me? Okay, Pleasure, yeah.
Yes, I'm from South Africa.
Okay, from South Africa. Okay, that's fine. Good, great to have you. So, Pleasure and Makwana from South Africa and Grace from Kenya, and I think the rest of us are from Nigeria.
Yep.
I just want to say my personal and then all right. So my position is that Africa currently is the youngest continent, and the comparative advantage Africa has over every other continent is in the youth. And as young people, we leverage Africa's comparative advantage, which is the youngest continent. Now, Africa is going to be the largest contributor to the future workforce because other continents have aging population, but Africa has young population. So Africans, the future work, large organization knows that the future works going to depend a whole lot on Africa. That
yes,
in the top tech companies trying to push initiative. They're trying to make sure that they bring Africa up to speed because they know that the future depends a lot on Africa. I hope I'm still on stream. You can
Yes,
still hear me, guys?
yes, we can
Okay,
see.
fine. The future depends on Africa. The future workforce depends a whole lot on Africa. So we need to leverage our comparative advantage, meaning that we as young person need to understand the fact that the future of Africa is in our hands. We must become conscious of this fact and try to intentionally or deliberately change the paradigm. It starts from the home individually to our community, because this is where our strength lies in. And I want to say also that we young persons need to also be politically educated, because politics drives the economy. There's no achievement we can make as a collective without government involvement. And if we continue to complain about the government and will still stay away, then we're not going to change the future. So we ourselves need to be politically aware. We need to be politically educated. We need to be politically involved. Remember, I said earlier that the involvement in politics does not mean you must run for a political office, but you must also be involved in the sense of trying to educate people within your community how to select the right leaders. Because if you can put the in the right positions, then I think we can start making the change. So we young persons constitute the highest population in countries, like I said, in Nigeria, about 68% of the voting population are young persons. In Africa, young persons constitute the largest percentage in terms of the voting population, but yet we keep churning the same kind of leaders. That means something is wrong with the young population. We need to educate ourselves. We need to politically educate ourselves. We need to also try and get involved in politics in order to change the system. Yes, it starts with changing ourselves, but for those of us who feel, yes, I've actually changed myself, I have the right value, can we also translate this into changing our community and also trying to see how we, from our community, get to the state level and then to the federal level and then to the other parts of Africa. So my passing shot is that the selling point or the comparative advantage for Africa is the youth. So the youth need to get together, get their acts together, and make sure we take the future. Thank you very much, you guys, and it's been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Thank you.
Thank you,
I would
everyone.
just let me just yeah. So I would just say for the guys, for the platform of Future of Jobs, we'll continue our conversation on our group. Thank you, our panelists. Let me take time to welcome, to say thank you to the panelists. Yeah, I can now see Makwana, I can see your face now. Grace, we've been having a great conversation on WhatsApp. Grace is a very, very likable personality, I must say. And Yvonne is a part of your team, and ID is part of Eureka. Udoite is a regular here webinar. And I want to say thank you to regulars, Victor Ananamba. I want to say thank you to Pleasure, Mr. Humble, who's the program, and Getchamu. Have I got that right? Getchamu, thank you so much for the conversation, and thank you everyone. And this is a weekly event. Next week we hope to have someone from the United Nations come facilitate, do the presentation. Not United Nations, UNIDO, do the presentation. So I hope to see you guys next Saturday, and also spread the word. Spread the word. It's a community, so we need to enlarge. We need to scale, grow the community. Thank you very much, and cha you guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Goodbye. See you next week. Same time, same place. Bye-bye.
Bye.